In this short essay video on mechanics, I'm going to show you how I was able to replace the clutch in my vehicle DIY style with just my hand tools. So once I got the vehicle supported, I went underneath and drained the transmission fluid and started removing the drive shaft line. So I had to use a breaker bar to get the 4 bolts off because they were stuck on there pretty good. So after removing the drive shaft, I covered up the output of the gearbox and the rear differentials to prevent any debris from entering. So I removed the hydraulic line from the clutch slave cylinder using the tool that I had with my clutch kit. So after that, I took the starter out and disconnected both the reverse light switch and the speedometer cable from the transmission. Oh, and don't forget to remove the shifter as well. So here comes the part where I needed to remove the tranny bolts. So there are 8 bolts in total that hold the transmission to the engine block. So I made sure that my jack was underneath the transmission to hold it up. So you see this wiring harness right here? I have to disconnect that in order to get my breaker bar through. But when you're disconnecting these wire harnesses, be careful and try not to snap off the clips. So yeah, just be gentle with those clips. So I got to removing the cross member, and then I was able to lower my transmission down and move it out of the way. So I replaced the throwout bearing, which is the whole reason why I wasn't able to shift correctly when I was in neutral. And since I had everything out and I had easy access to the engine block, I thought of replacing the rear main seal, the pilot bearing, just as much as I can for preventative maintenance. That way, in case something were to break down in the future, I won't have to pull the transmission out. I also replaced the clutch disc, the pressure plate, and the flywheel. So next I cleaned off the surface of the separator plate, and then I installed the new flywheel and torqued down the bolts in a crisscross pattern with 85 foot-pounds of torque. Then I got my clutch assembled all together ready to install, and once I got that all in, I had to wiggle the transmission back into place, and this is the part where I needed another person to help me, considering I didn't have a tranny jack stand, so I needed a few people to help with this process. So after I got the transmission back in completely, everything else was downhill from here. Everything is literally the opposite procedure of taking it out. So now all I had to do was just bleed the slave cylinder and put transmission fluid in, and I'm done.